Are mothers more loving and protective than fathers? A data-driven discussion of parenting, biology, culture, and child development. One of the most common beliefs across cultures is that mothers are naturally more loving, more nurturing, and more protective of their children than fathers. We hear it in everyday language: a mother's love is different. Nobody loves you like your mother. Mothers will sacrifice anything for their children. These phrases are emotionally powerful because for many people, they reflect real experience. But the question becomes more complicated when we ask it seriously. Are mothers actually more loving and protective than fathers, or are mothers more likely to be placed in the role of primary caregiver? That distinction matters. Love is difficult to measure directly. We cannot simply look inside a mother's or father's heart and assign a love score. What researchers can measure are things like time spent with children, caregiving behaviors, emotional responsiveness, attachment security, financial provision, physical protection, custody patterns, child outcomes, and parental involvement. Those measures tell us something, but they do not capture love perfectly. So, rather than asking only who loves children more, a better question is, how do mothers and fathers tend to express love and protection differently? And what does the data show about their roles in children's lives? The popular belief: mothers are naturally more nurturing. The idea that mothers are more loving is partly rooted in biology. Pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding, and early infant care create a powerful association between motherhood and physical closeness. In the earliest months of life, mothers are often the parent most directly connected to feeding, soothing, holding, and responding to the child's bodily needs. This is especially true when breastfeeding is involved. A newborn's survival is immediately connected to someone who can feed, hold, regulate, and respond to distress. Historically, that person was usually the mother or another woman in the kinship network. Across many societies, women have been expected to serve as the primary caregiver, especially in infancy and early childhood. Because of this, maternal love is often imagined as immediate, instinctive, sacrificial, and unconditional. But we have to be careful. Biology may create conditions for early bonding, but biology alone does not guarantee loving behavior. Some mothers are deeply loving and protective. Some mothers are neglectful, abusive, emotionally unavailable, addicted, overwhelmed, or absent. Some fathers are distant, but many fathers are deeply nurturing, emotionally present, and protective. So the question is not whether mothers matter; they clearly do. The question is whether mothers are inherently more loving, or whether society has historically built motherhood around direct caregiving, while fatherhood has often been built around provision, discipline, protection, and external responsibility. The caregiving time data. Mothers still do more direct childcare. One of the strongest pieces of evidence behind the public perception is time use. In the United States, mothers still spend more time than fathers on direct childcare, even though fathers are more involved than in past generations. The Bureau of Labor Statistics 2024 American Time Use Survey shows that parents' caregiving remains gendered. In households with children, mothers spend more average time in primary childcare than fathers, while fathers tend to spend more time in paid work. BLS also reported that adults living with at least one child under age 13 spent an average of 5.2 hours per day providing secondary childcare, meaning supervising or being responsible for children while doing something else. Pew's long-running analysis also shows the same broad pattern. Fathers have increased their childcare and housework over recent decades, but mothers still typically do more hands-on caregiving. Pew reported that in 2011, fathers averaged 7.3 hours per week of childcare, compared with 13.5 hours per week for mothers. The exact numbers have changed over time, but the pattern remains. Fathers are doing more than previous generations, yet mothers still carry a larger share of day-to-day caregiving. This is one reason people often perceive mothers as more loving. The parent who is more often feeding, bathing, comforting, scheduling appointments, helping with homework, noticing emotional changes, and managing daily routines becomes more visible as the nurturing parent. But time spent is not the same as love. Time reflects many things: employment patterns, custody arrangements, breastfeeding, parental leave, gender norms, income, work hours, and expectations about who should be responsible for children. A father working long hours to provide for the family may love his child deeply, but his love may be expressed through provision rather than direct caregiving. A mother who spends more hours with the child may be more emotionally available, but she may also be exhausted and unsupported. So time use data shows caregiving patterns. It does not prove superior love. Single-parent households, mothers are much more often the residential parent. Another major reason mothers are perceived as more protective is that after separation or non-marital birth, children are much more likely to live with their mothers than with their fathers. The U.S. Census Bureau reported that in 2023, there were 9.8 million one-parent households with children under 18, 7.3 million mother-only households, and 2.5 million father-only households. In other words, about 3/4 of one-parent households were mother-only households. Census data also show that the number of children living only with their mothers has increased dramatically over the last several decades. In 1968, 85% of children under 18 lived with two parents. By 2020, that figure had fallen to 70%, while the share living with mother only had doubled. A 2025 demographic analysis summarized that in 2023, nearly 1 in 4 U.S. children ages 0 to 17, about 19 million children, lived without a biological, step, or adoptive father in the home. And most of those children lived with their mothers. These numbers are powerful. They show that mothers are far more likely to be the parent physically present in the home when only one parent is present. That presence can create the perception that mothers are the more loyal or protective parent. But again, we have to interpret carefully. Residential parenthood is shaped by custody norms, court practices, pregnancy outside marriage, relationship breakdown, economic conditions, incarceration, military service, work migration, and parental choice. Some fathers abandon their children, some fathers are pushed out, some fathers are present financially but not residentially. Some are present emotionally but not counted in household statistics. Some mothers are the stable parent because they choose to remain. Others are the stable parent because society leaves them with the responsibility. So the data support this statement. Mothers are more often the parent who remains physically responsible for children after family disruption. But that is not the same as proving that mothers always love children more than fathers. Father involvement. Fathers matter more than stereotypes suggest. If the public stereotype says mothers are naturally loving and fathers are optional, the evidence does not support that. Fathers matter. A lot. Research consistently links positive father involvement with better outcomes for children. The Institute for Research on Poverty summarizes that positive father involvement is associated with children's higher academic achievement, greater school readiness, stronger verbal and math skills, greater emotional security, higher self-esteem, fewer behavioral problems, and stronger social competence. A meta-analysis on father involvement and academic achievement found a statistically significant association between father involvement and educational outcomes for children. Research on early childhood also connects father involvement with social-emotional development, including self-concept, social competence, empathy, confidence, and emotion regulation. This matters because the mothers are more loving claim can sometimes become fathers are less necessary. That is a dangerous leap. Children do not need fathers only as wallets, disciplinarians, or emergency protectors. Children benefit from fathers as emotionally engaged caregivers, teachers, play partners, moral guides, and secure attachment figures. The CDC-NCHS report on father involvement found that many residential fathers are highly involved in daily routines. Among fathers living with school-aged children, about 93% ate meals with them, 92.5% talked with them about things that happened during the day, 63% helped with or checked homework, and 55% took them to or from activities. That is not the picture of fathers as naturally indifferent. It shows that when fathers live with their children, many are deeply involved in everyday parenting. Mothers and attachment. The early bond is real but not exclusive. Attachment theory is often used to support the idea that mothers are uniquely important. The earliest mother-child relationship can be deeply formative because infants depend heavily on consistent, sensitive caregiving. Maternal sensitivity, the ability to notice, interpret, and respond appropriately to a child's needs, is strongly linked to secure attachment and healthy child development. A meta-analytic review found that contextual stress, parenting stress, and maternal mental health challenges can undermine maternal sensitivity, which reminds us that even maternal caregiving is shaped by support, stress, income, mental health, and environment. But attachment research does not say that only mothers matter. Children can form important attachments to fathers, grandparents, adoptive parents, and other caregivers. One study found that some children were securely attached to both mother and father, while others were secure with one parent and insecure with the other, showing that mother-child and father-child bonds can differ within the same family. Recent attachment research continues to examine mother-child and father-child attachment separately and as part of a network of relationships. A 2024 study specifically looked at the stability of child attachment to mothers and fathers separately between infancy and preschool, reinforcing that both parent-child relationships matter and may develop differently. So the better interpretation is, mothers often play a central early attachment role, especially in infancy, but fathers can also be major attachment figures. Children benefit when both parents are emotionally safe, responsive, and available. Protection. Mothers and fathers may protect in different ways. Protection is also difficult to measure. People often think of protection physically, defending the child from harm, danger, violence, or external threat. In that sense, fathers are often culturally associated with physical protection. But protection is broader than physical defense. A protective parent also protects a child by feeding them, keeping medical appointments, noticing illness, providing emotional safety, supervising friendships, monitoring school performance, keeping the home stable, setting boundaries, and helping the child regulate fear. Mothers often perform more of this everyday protection because they are more likely to manage daily caregiving. Fathers may be more likely to express protection through physical safety, discipline, financial provision, risk-taking guidance, and teaching children to navigate the outside world. These are general patterns, not fixed laws. Many mothers are physically protective, many fathers are emotionally nurturing. But historically, societies have often divided parental protection into maternal care and paternal security. The mistake is assuming that one form is real love and the other is not. A father working overtime to pay rent is also a type of love. A mother comforting a child after rejection is love. A father teaching the child confidence, boundaries, and courage is also love. Biological arguments, hormones, and caregiving adaptation. There are biological reasons mothers may be more immediately bonded to infants. Pregnancy and childbirth involve hormonal changes, including oxytocin and prolactin, that are associated with bonding, breastfeeding, and caregiving responsiveness. Mothers also experience the child inside their bodies, which can create a unique embodied connection. But biology is not limited to mothers. Research has shown that fathers also undergo biological and psychological changes